Okay, so here's a little bit different of a show from Dynasty Trades in 5. Scott and Shane do a ton of roster reviews. I think they've done 200 now. They're going to be doing mine tonight, and we're going to have fun with it. It's a 12-team super flex, tight end premium, but it's only a 1.5 tight end premium, half PPR, start 9. Okay, so I'm in the playoffs. I didn't expect to be in the playoffs, but that's what happens when you have Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen as your quarterbacks. Good stuff can happen. But let's just get into it, man. Should I fricking buy a couple studs and try to win the ship, or kind of tap the brakes?
I'm just looking, like you said, the quarterbacks. And if I turn this way, it's because I'm looking at your roster on my second screen here to give it the proper love that it needs. But looking at when you have Josh Allen and Pat Mahomes and you're in the playoffs, I would say, yes, you should be trying to win a title. You add to that you have my dude Jamar Chase, who is the wide receiver 1 or 2 in Dynasty. And then at running back, you're running out there Miles Sanders and Travis Etienne. So, yeah, Marquise Brown is your wide receiver, too. You've got some riffraff on your roster, like Harrison Bryant. That's not great. You've also got 2, 4, 5 first-round draft picks. It's time to go win a title. I'm not sure why you haven't already picked the bones of all the worst teams in the league.
The reason I haven't picked the bones is decided to start a YouTube channel with you guys. So I don't focus. Excuses. Yeah, I don't focus as much on my own views as I can.
It sounds like excuses to me.
Let me frame this up too real quick. So those 523 firsts that I have, one is going to be, let's call it the 108. The other 4 are top 6. And this league, the winner of the toilet bowl gets the 101.
It's time to go win a title. Let's not pussyfoot around. Looking at your roster, where do we need to upgrade? Let's just keep it simple. Hey, what's the tight end? Where's Travis Kelce? He's on a winning team, I guess.
Yes.
Mark Andrews, winning team.
Toilet bowl, and I have that guy's first.
Ooh, Dallas Goedert.
So I don't want to take him. Dallas Goedert, I could buy him for that playoff 23 first if I wanted to. Right now, I would want a little something back.
All right, well, then do that and go get a little something back. Upgrade from Harrison Bryant, who I don't know that he plays football.
He might not.
He's a soccer player from what I understand. But the upgrade from Harrison Bryant to Dallas Goedert is worth it for me, even if it's just a baby premium. It's not really a premium. It's like we want to say it's a premium, so we just did that. So I definitely want to upgrade there. I also wouldn't mind upgrading at least one of my other wide receiver, running back, tight end positions, either Rashad White or Isaiah Pacheco. I don't care, really. If you're looking long-term, I guess I want to upgrade Isaiah Pacheco because Rashad White's a better long-term asset. But they're both middling running backs, so neither of them really matter that much in the grand scheme of things. Hey, and guess what? You have an abundance of picks. So, again, going to use picks. And can I use a pick in George Pickens, who a lot of people love, people like me? Let's go see if we can get T-Von Higgins. I don't think that's his actual name, but T. Higgins, who might play this week, practice in full today. So I'm sure he's fine. Jalen Waddle, maybe add another player to that and maybe go get Amon-Ra St. Brown. I went way into the moves here. So I'm going to let Scott look at your roster and get into some other issues because you do have some other issues besides. Look, it's a good roster, but I don't want you to get a big head. You've definitely made multiple mistakes on this roster, and Scott's going to help you clean those up.
The first thing that stands out to me is, so this is a 12-team start 9, 25-man rosters. Like, Clay's probably wasting at least 5 of these roster spots on just complete dog shit. Some roster clogger heaven on the bench. So you're really winning in spite of probably building the team right, which is nice because you have the 2 quarterbacks, Jamar Chase. You actually traded a mid-first for Travis Etienne, which I would have probably gone, okay, that's not what I want to spend the pick on, but you were kind of like, oh, I got an extra pick. Right. I can get Etienne for a single first, fine. So now you're looking at your running backs going like most teams would kill to have Rashad White and Isaiah Pacheco as their RB3 and RB4, given how much attrition there is at the position. But then I look at, okay, it still is a start 9 with 25-man rosters, so there's probably okay players you can pick up on the waiver wire in terms of running backs. Like, there's bodies. And so you have some roster clogger receivers too, like Ben Skoranek, Nelson Aguilar. Like, those guys can go half PPR and 1.5 premium. So there is a big gap between, like, there's a big positional advantage if you have a good tight end, right?
So let me hop in real quick. So it's half PPR, full PPR for tight end.
Okay. So it's not 3x, it's only 2x.
Right.
Okay.
And this league is freaking whack. We're going to be changing it, but right now it is a 4 QB limit.
Gotcha. Okay. So you can't, everyone can get access to like the backups off waivers. You can't store them, or you can't hoard them all, basically.
In 2025, it's going to be unlimited. Hopefully 2024, I might strong arm it because I'm commish.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I am with Shane. Like, if there's one move I'm making before the season ends, it's going to be the tight end upgrade. There's some tight ends on some of the tanking teams that you don't want to touch because you could end up getting the 101 based on them winning. So you don't necessarily want to pillage them of talent, which does complicate this a little bit. I do wonder, the two teams in the toilet bowl that you don't have their firsts, do they have anything that they're willing to trade? But then they may also be invested in their own picks and they don't want to trade away players for the same reason. Whereas the teams you hold the first, they may be willing because they don't care as much about the outcome of the pick because you already hold it.
Yeah.
Is there any one trade on any of those teams where the team would be willing to buy their own first back and still take a shot at the toilet bowl, but also realize, like, hey, you need to give me somebody that's going to be in my lineup. It needs to be better than Donovan Peoples-Jones, George Pickens, Rachaad White, Isaiah Pacheco. If it's not a clear upgrade over those guys, why would you give them their pick back? You'd rather just let them keep the player and see if they can win you the 102 or 101 or whatever. So I think I'd go to those teams, and I wonder which ones would be more apt to trade with. Would it be the ones that you hold their picks or the ones that have their own pick and they're still trying to go for? If there's a team where you don't own their pick, but they don't own their pick, what is that team playing for? Are they willing to trade you something for one of the other picks? Because you also have to figure, if they're going to get beat in the toilet bowl, it might be why one of the teams that they get the pick for, that you trade them.
Yep.
Like, is there a stud starter that you could buy that clearly is going into one of your flexes and bumping either Rachaad White or Isaiah Pacheco out to where you're like, okay, this guy's clearly a starter down the stretch? Steph Diggs, is he on one of those teams?
I know. I'd love to stack him. He's defending champ.
So he's in the playoffs.
He's in the playoffs.
All right. Well, so here's the other option too, though. Don't forget, because there's no deadline because you're an adult. So once this week passes, you're also going to have additional people you can trade with, assuming you can get past this week after you had Dallas Goedert and upgrade Pacheco, or more likely Rachaad White this week.
I do think in a start 9, you do have to get a tight end that you can play, because Harrison Bryant literally has had zeros. So I do think you need to get something out of tight end. I wonder, honestly, if there's a better player on waivers almost at tight end that you could stream.
There's not.
Has to be.
There's not.
Has to be.
No?
Foster Moreau.
Oh, better than Harrison Bryant?
Yeah, Lawrence Cager, someone like that. I mean, there's got to be somebody. Harrison Bryant, literally, I wouldn't play. He could literally get you a 0. I think he had 1 target last week.
So, I mean, is Goddard definitely playing?
It's about 1,000%. Like, the Eagles have gone out of their way to pretty much, he's practiced in full all week, and they've everything short of just saying, yes, he's starting this week.
I mean, what was your plan at tight end, Clay? Just to play Harrison Bryant and just...
No, I was watching Goddard. The guy is totally willing to sell Goddard. I can give up a playoff first. It'll end up being, let's call it a 107 or 8. So if I give the 107 or 8 for Goddard, what should I ask for in return? Would a 24 second be enough?
Yes.
I would try to get a 24 second and you give him Malik Willis.
I'm not giving him.
I'm not even giving him Malik Willis. I'm not even giving him Malik Willis.
I think Malik Willis is deader than dead. He will never get an opportunity. That'd be a guy. That's a guy I would say liquidate and get a pick, because it's too shallow to keep a guy like that. You know,
fine, but it almost sounds like Clay doesn't need to. It sounds like he's got this dude on the rope. He already knows what he needs to. He can get a pick back with it.
I gave him a 2-for-1 yesterday. I gave him, call it the 105 or 106, and a 24 second for ETN. So maybe I can ask for that 24 second back.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Here, I'll send it right now.
We've already identified you need to upgrade the tight end position, and obviously one of your flex positions. We'd like to upgrade all your flex positions if possible, but we got to work in the constraints that what we can work in. You only have 6 other teams you can deal with right now. But I'm still just, let's not overthink this. We're going straight down to the worst rosters. We're looking at, basically they need everything because they're the worst rosters. And we're offering them George Pickens. We're offering them picks, and we're trying to get literally their best players.
And I'm intrigued by the Pickens trade, because I mean, the more and more I look at Pickens, I think I'm starting to, not that I'm out on Pickens, but he's starting to look a lot like Gabriel Davis.
I want him to have one more kind of flashy game to get his, get some excitement, and then I'll move him.
I think the problem is his flashy games. He's got Mitch Trubisky, and I think, he's been trending the wrong direction to where it's like his market share is down at like 15% for the season. I mean, I don't want to say he can't be good, but I'm almost looking at him as like his ceiling is T. Higgins. His
I don't
most
think the
likely
ceiling is
outcome.
that.
Well, I
I
think
th-
that's like his 10% ceiling. I think his most likely outcome is like Mike Williams.
Right. And people were looking at him, and people might still have this view of him of like, oh my God, he's going to be a wide receiver one.
Like an alpha.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Now, I'm fine holding on them as a wide receiver too, but you don't need a wide receiver two to win a title. You know, you have Jamar Chase and Marquise Brown, so you're heavy at wide receiver. So
Can you add one of your picks? Can you go get Tyreek Hill or Devontae Adams for Pickens?
They
Someone like that.
are also in the playoffs. I don't know if I mean some people may be down. Picks are highly valued in this league.
you've got to go to the loser teams because they're all, I'm guessing, a good
But I
bit of
have
them.
their first.
I
So
understand.
yeah,
They
yeah,
need
yeah.
them. So
Go
you
to
got
the
'em
team
over
with
at Allen.
Tyreek or Adams and send them George Pickens in a second. See what they do.
They're going to
I don't have a second, right?
If you get one back in the other trade, potentially,
Yeah,
if you can pull the Goddard deal off, I think you got to do your due diligence. Even if those teams go, hey, I'm sorry, I can't trade you Diggs, Adams, Tyreek, because I'm in the playoffs. Okay. But at least you tried. I mean, at least you tried to get off of somebody like Pickens and you threw him a little bit of a bonus. Because I could see a team that gets knocked out. Maybe next week they do that deal. Because they're looking at it going like, I think Pickens can be a top 24 receiver or better. And I'm getting off. Put it this way. Shane, a month ago, if he was out of the playoffs, would have done a deal like that.
Yeah.
Where he gets George Pickens and a pick for Tyreek Hill, or something like that. Like he would have entertained a deal like that because he's getting the young receiver. So maybe you get somebody that's, thinking the same way.
Yeah, but we got to get through this week.
Exactly.
This week.
That's what I was going to say. So sorry for cutting you off, but that's what I was going to say is get through this week. And then the Stephon Diggs owner, he knows he needs to have first. What would you pay for Stephon Diggs? Like if I pick the worst of the toilet bowl first, so let's say if I think it's going to be the 104, would you give that for Steph Diggs to try to lock this up?
Yes.
Yep.
I've got Josh Allen for the stack. Yep.
It's not like Diggs is going to die after this year. He's viable for another year or two as a wide receiver one, at least. So it actually helps your roster construction next year. Because here's the other problem. If I was looking at this roster, I don't even want running backs in this next draft because you have too many running backs already. Like you're going to obviously add one or two, but this isn't the team where you're like, let me draft 5 of them. Like you're probably going to go into next year going, I need another good receiver. So I'd be fine if you got a guy like Diggs.
I will say this, though, a couple things. One, yeah, we can add Diggs because we have absolutely no concerns about the aging of your roster. Not with Marquise Brown and Jamar Chase, like at 25 and 23. So even adding a 28-year-old wide receiver to the mix, it's not like, oh, now I have 3 29 wide receivers and they're all going to age out at the same time. But as far as the running backs, I wouldn't mind seeing you add one that's good because, yeah, Miles Sanders and Travis Etienne I like a lot. But after that, your running backs, Rashad White's okay, and then it's just 0 running back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's your running backs are trash cans. Justice Hill is maybe the best. I don't know. It's a good fight between Justice Hill and
DJ Dallas,
Khalil Herbert.
No, Ebner, Treston Ebner, or whatever the hell his name is.
Ebner, yeah, Charles Dickens character.
Well, here's an alternative: is Derrick Henry on a contender?
Yeah.
No,
because he gets the Chargers. The Chargers and the Texans back to back, which are literally the 2 worst run defenses. This might be crazy. I would be willing to trade Etienne, who sucks, in a deal if I get Henry back, if I can switch something out and get that team's 24 first.
I've got his 23 first, and he has a decent shot of winning me the toilet bowl and getting me Bijan. So that's what's squirrely about this.
Well, so if you're giving him, and I don't think Travis Etienne sucks. I don't like Scott saying.
I mean, I guess the point is he's not going to help you win. I don't think.
Okay, but you can trade him Travis Etienne, and I'm not giving up a first or expecting to get a first back with that. To be quite honest with you, I can't see the dude doing that. But if I give up Travis Etienne for Derrick Henry straight up again, I'm fine with that. That doesn't ding him enough that he's out of the toilet bowl contention. And more importantly, it's an upgrade at running back for me.
Well, why don't you give him Travis Etienne and Donovan Peoples-Jones? And maybe you throw in another piece and try to get his 24 first. That actually might help him win the toilet bowl because you're giving him another player he can play. I'd rather have Derrick Henry the rest of the season, and I'd probably rather have the 24 first if it's in the hands of a manager that I'm not really sure about. I'd probably rather have that in my back pocket over Travis Etienne because you're going to have access to running backs with your draft picks, right? You already know that. Like, you're going to add, if not Bijan, you're going to be able to add 2 or 3 of the top 5 running backs in the class. So you're not going to go into next year going, man, I don't have enough running backs. Like, you're going to have enough to get by. So I would explore that. You're going to have to get really creative.
Okay,
Can I give him ETN and George Pickens and get Henry in his 24 first?
Probably.
If he's perpetually not a great manager, I kind of would want to get the pick, like that. I don't know. That's what I'm thinking. I don't want to do it straight up.
All right. Well, be practical, though. Okay. So if the only choice is out there, and I like your idea of giving up Pickens and ETN and getting the 24 first and Henry. But if dude's just like, look, it's too much for me. All I'm willing to do is get a cash age discount on the running back. I'll give you Henry for ETN. I'm doing it. This is a title contender. We've already talked about the quarterbacks are set, right, for the next 1,000 years. The wide receivers are young. And we still have a ton of draft capital. We do that. We're not even moving any of the draft capital. And we still have draft capital to use if we get through this week or, it's Thursday? What's today? Friday. I still got at least one day to make a trade where I could say, all right, well, I just added Henry to this roster, even if it's at giving up ETN at cost, right? And then I could add Diggs. I can add Amon-Ra St. Brown, whoever, one of those guys that's on a bad roster because they're not all on good rosters. You had 2 starters to that. You had one of them being Henry to this roster. We've already talked about adding Goddard, right? So that's 1 pick down. So we're adding Travis Henry, Dallas Goddard, and a top 12 wide receiver to this roster based off what he has. It's doable. That can win a title this year.
I do think one point about no trade deadline is you literally can play it week to week too. Like you make one or you make the 2 moves this week. You get Goddard, you get Derrick Henry. If for some reason you don't win, okay, I still have my 5 firsts or whatever next year, or my 4 firsts next year. I'm fine. Let's say one gets injured. You can still bail yourself out because you have no trade deadline. Some people don't like that. I know a lot of people go, well, you need to have a trade deadline because I don't want you to trade for essentially like a DFS lineup every week.
Yeah, right.
Because you already know, Clay, you have enough assets here. You can probably buy this title this year if you want.
I could if I wanted to. Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you're sitting here, there's these other factors where you don't want to take players from the teams that could get you the high picks, so you're trying to thread the needle to where, how do I win? But how do I manage like 3 of the top 4 picks at the same time and win?
And that's getting too cute by half. I think that's the saying, right? I don't know. Yeah, maybe Baker's cousin.
We're both confused, so obviously
probably not. I think that's a saying. It's too cute by half.
It is today.
Yeah, it's a saying. I made it up. I'm going to get a T-shirt that says that. You're in a position where you have so much capital and enough young players that you can go all in. And look, you got to pick a lane. Do I want to win a title this year, or do I, yes, and still compete in the future? That's the good thing, is because your roster's young and you have draft capital that you can buy more young players with, as opposed to going, all right, well, now I also need to think about, this X times 3 to the 4th power is going to get me the 107. Like there's just too many. Look, we talk about variance in trying to win a title. There's too much variance in trying to figure out, well, if I trade from this player, it's going to hurt him against this guy in the toilet bowl. And then if he wins, then I have him against this guy the next week. Like that's too much for me. Like I understand the 3D chess, 4D chess. That's getting way too big brain to galaxy brain than outthinking yourself. You want to win this year and you want to continue to compete. Well, you have draft capital to do so. You add old people like Derrick Henry and Devontae Adams, but you also add young people while you're at it. And if you need to, Dallas Goddard you're adding to the roster is another, 27-year-old tight end. So you got many years there. So that's what I'm looking at. I'm less concerned about like, well, if I do this, it's going to shoot this guy in the foot for the toilet bowl and I won't get Bijan. Look, there's a good chance dude's going to do that to himself, or she is going to do that to themselves. And it's just there's too much variance, literally. And if you do lose, that's the beauty part. All right, who wants Derrick Henry for next week? And, I'm selling him at a loss, but I'm still getting a return.
I do like the idea of somehow in these trades getting somebody's 24 first back.
Mm-hmm.
And, a team that I'm pretty confident is going to be in the toilet bowl. I do like that idea. If I'm going to spend all this capital, getting another first back, because firsts are valuable in this league. So I like that Pickens option.
So just in your league, what do you think the market pulse is going to be on the 23 first if you don't make any moves and you're just holding those picks? And let's say you have, 5 of the top 9 picks. Are you going to be able to spin that easily into 24 first plus when you get near rookie draft time? Like, is this the kind of league that will pay you the tax to get out of a couple of those picks if you can get a couple 24 firsts?
I think so. Better chance than not.
Okay. Because that would be the argument of like, okay, if I know I'm sitting on the 105 and I'm going to be able to get it easily a 24 first plus, a second and a player or something like that. Like you can,
Not
if you know those,
it wouldn't be that much, but yes, I could move 105 for 24 first and a second.
Okay. So you don't have any worries that you'll be able to shift one or two of those picks to 24 if you wanted to.
I could.
Okay.
You have assets to make moves, so you need to be flexible and be able to expand your mind instead of just thinking, always in terms of like, it's great that you can do a Goddard for a pick trade. You know what I mean? But obviously you don't want to always just be in that, all right, oh, here's another pick, give me another player.
Yeah.
It is like Scott said, like that if you could get Travis Etienne in the first for Pickens and Henry.
Well, here's the beauty of it. Like you already have Mahomes, Chase, and Josh Allen. It's like every year until those guys kind of fade, which literally the league will last less time than before those guys are probably not relevant. You're in the mix every year. Nobody can take it away. Barring one of those guys getting injured, you're in the mix every year. So it's like you already have this built-in floor where now it's just how do I manipulate all the toppings in between on my roster and turn it into the most points possible. Right. And then you have no trade deadline, which literally means you can wait till the last minute and go, I have this money sitting in my bank account, and all I have to do is just go to the place where whatever I want is being sold. Yep. And you can buy it. There isn't any barrier of having to forecast ahead 12 weeks. Oh, maybe should I buy Derrick Henry in week 8 because my trade deadline is week 10, but look at his schedule in week 15. Well, I don't want to buy him for so much in week 8 because, that's 7 weeks where he could get injured, and then I don't even get him for those playoff weeks. Like you can literally wait until, 15 minutes before kickoff and go, yeah, I want to go get that guy. How much do you want for him? Yep. It's like, that's the beauty of having all the assets to even more so like, man, I wouldn't want to be in a league with you going against you because if I have no assets, all I have is my team. I might have the best team going into the playoffs, but dude, like if Clay wants the best team, he can buy the freaking best team every week. It's just how much does he want to spend? So yeah, this is a fun one to review because I think this is why you play in leagues with no trade deadline. I hear a lot of the arguments of why you should have a trade deadline is, well, I don't want people to be able to bail themselves out when it's past the 11th hour. And usually those are the guys that don't know how to roster construct and they don't save any picks. And they go, well, I committed in week 10. I don't want to have to, face somebody.
That's what I was going to say. They don't want to, they're lazy. They just want to go, all right, well, we're done. This is it set in stone. There's no more strategy.
Everybody should have the opportunity to always improve their situation. It's one thing if there's like bogus trades going on, around the playoffs, but if that's happening, that's a league problem. That's not a trade deadline problem. That's a league mate problem.
Yep. If you have a no trade deadline, you just need the right type of managers that are willing to dig their heels in and have a strategy. But you know what? If Clay traded for Derrick Henry this week and then he loses, there's no shame in you going to the team that's remaining and going, bail me out of Derrick Henry. The price you paid is different now than what you're going to try to sell him for. And you admit, hey, he's not as valuable now, right? Because I'm out. So I think that's the thing that people get hung up on is like, oh, well, Clay's just going to hand one of the teams Derrick Henry and he's going to win. It's like, yeah.
And it's equal opportunity. Clay doesn't give a shit. It's open to their 4 remaining teams. Right. It's not like he's saying, I'm only going to deal with Jack over here. That might be a little screwy. No, Clay's going to go, all right, best offer gets him. Like, who wants to win?
He can say, I'm only going to deal with the team that has X, Y, and Z.
I can send it to a couple people in the toilet bowl that I have there first and be like, hey, let's get you the one. Let's get me the 101.
Yeah.
I could try to engineer Bijan.
And I think that's cool that you have people play for the 101, which I know Shane's not a fan of playing for the 101, but playing for something, right?
Yeah.
And you allow trading. That means in this league, literally this week, all 12 teams are playing for something, right?
Yep.
So everyone would have the ability to go, oh, hey, I'm going to trade that spot start quarterback or that spot start running back. Or, hey, let me go buy. I'm in last place, but I'm trying to maintain that 101. Let me go buy, the backup quarterback that's starting this week. And you're going, dude, you're 2-12. Why would you buy Brock Purdy? Well, I want to try to win that 101. Like, there's something to play for. Like, that makes a healthier league than just, trade deadline's week 12. Now nobody's active anymore. I mean, that's no fun.